Today, we got the Federal Reserve interest rate decision that we were expecting, and they cut 0.5%, which if you'd watched our YouTube yesterday, we told you that there was a 63% chance that they would cut by 0.5%. That actually grew into the announcement at 1 p.m. With the 50 basis point cut, they also are projecting that they're going to cut 25 basis points 2 more times this year. So this 50 basis point cut, as we discussed yesterday, this was something that was designed to really kickstart the market. And yesterday we talked about the 3 different periods in which you could trade FOMC. We talked about pre-FOMC. We talked about the 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Central Time window in which the rate announcement, the statement, and the dot plot was released. And then we talked about the window after 1:30 p.m. when the prepared statement from Chairman Powell and the press conference started. Now, if we look at what happened during this time, the thing we talked about yesterday was that oftentimes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, there's a bullish bias to the market. We did see this on Tuesday. We saw, which you'll see a lot, you saw S&Ps rally throughout the night and rally after the open in that steady fashion that I described. Then we had some negative economic numbers and the market sold off. Then again, last night into today, you started to see the market stabilize and start to rise again as it kind of drifted higher. And then coming into the announcement, then we started getting the movement. Now here's a chart of the E-mini futures. And you can see on Tuesday night, the market just started drifting higher and higher and higher into the open. And then after the open, we got this rally into the 9 o'clock number, rallied initially, and then had the sharp break. Now, one of the things with S&Ps is they're up against all-time highs, and they're into some very significant resistance. This is the 3rd time the market's been up here, and it's struggling to get through. The same thing happened again yesterday and today, where the market has struggled to get through these highs. So after yesterday, then you can see through the night, it was slowly grinding higher, sideways to higher. Then when we got into the day session, the market sold off initially, but then it rallied all the way into the announcement. And this big 5-minute candle right here, this now we get into the window of 1 to 1:30. And this is what I was talking about. I want to show you what we did here, and that is that we framed the 5-minute window. You can see I put a box around this, and this becomes the big window to analyze for which way we should go. So you could see that SPY traded inside of this 5-minute window almost all day, and it just started to leak out of the bottom just a little bit at the end of the day. NASDAQ was weaker. It definitely started to sell off below this level at the close. I told you yesterday that my favorite market, if they cut 50 basis points, was gold. Well, here is gold. Gold put in a big 5-minute period, and it had strong volume coming out, leading to a long. But then there was a sharp reversal where it went back down into that range and then broke hard out the other side. Now, it's interesting. I'll show you what was correlated to this. I also want to point out the 2-year note. The 2-year note, which is a big benefactor of these rate cuts, you can see it had the huge bar up, and then it sat inside that 5-minute range the rest of the day. And finally, we had the 30-year bond. The 30-year bond put in its big range. It tried to break out up just like gold. And then it sold off, came back into the range on pretty heavy volume, and then sold off out the bottom and broke into the close. So we had the 30-year bond and we had gold. We also had the dollar do a similar type of thing where the dollar sold off initially and then rallied. And so essentially what we saw is we saw somewhat of a buy the rumor, sell the fact. Buy the rumor that they were going to cut 50 basis points and then sell after the announcement. And particularly what I'm looking at is the way that fixed income sold off on the long end. That made the curve start to steepen, where the long end was rates were going up while the short end rates were going down. Long end rates going up put pressure on gold and put a floor under the dollar. This is one of the reasons why gold broke and why the dollar rallied. So what we see is out of this range, we'll typically see follow through. Tomorrow's going to be a very pivotal day because is it going to follow through off of this, in which it did? We would start to see stocks potentially sell off. We see long-term interest rates go up. We would see inflationary type vehicles like gold. We would see them sell off. Now, gold's been really bullish lately. So we'll watch for this and see if this is a short-term phenomenon in which gold will start to continue to rally, or if it's a sign of that there's actually potentially tightening coming, not tightening in short-term rates, but that the long end of the curve would have rates go up, which could actually start to act deflationary. So we said then the next was after the press conference at 1:30. The press conference, there wasn't much going on. Most of this happened after the press conference. This is a very effective way of analyzing the market, of framing the 5 minutes. I said 5 and 15 minutes. I do both, but the 15-minute was irrelevant because the 5-minute was big enough. Frame the first 5 minutes and then see how the market responds to that range. We got some clues to that today. We would have expected stocks to rally, gold to rally, fixed income to rally, and dollar to sell off. We didn't get that. Whenever a market doesn't do what it should, we got to ask the question, is the opposite actually happening? So could a 50 basis point cut actually be bearish? It could, because there's a lot of people going, what do they know that I don't know? What does the Fed know that they're cutting 50 basis points? I personally think they were trying to send a message, and they're just trying to get ahead of it and essentially send a message that they're going to take care of the economy and everything is going to be good. So let's watch tomorrow and see how the market takes it.